Basically, I usually start any of my background paintings from rough sketches, and they usually consist of a big idea of some sort. So in this case, I think I'm gonna paint this kind of a scene. This idea is that nature will overgrow mankind, so it's nature versus man-made. So I'm thinking of like some sort of structure, some sort of man-made thing. Maybe it's old mech or something that has been used before, like an old power plant. But it has overgrown, it's been abandoned, so there's going to be grass, moss, and things growing over it. I had this idea maybe that there is something discovering this situation. As a sketch, I would try to keep it kind of loose like this. If it's hopeful, usually the colors are usually like warm, yellow, those kinds of tones. So I'm thinking about the light source color and temperature. And if it's yellow, the shadow sides will always be the opposite on that color wheel. So I'm just gonna roughly sketch out that similar vibe. The bird will be probably here. And then this is water or swamp. This is gonna cut across. And the other thing with organic is you want to not have parallel lines. So here we're going down, here we're going up this way. Basically what we're trying to do is avoid parallel because it's really unnatural. There's something about being traditional that makes you commit a bit better, especially with Photoshop. You can just do undo.
Right.
Whereas when you do something traditional, once you make that mark, it's there. Whether you try to cover it up or whether you evolve it or turn it into something else, there's something very beautiful about that mark being a mistake being there. So I think it's important to be able to do both if possible, whether you work traditionally or digitally. The point is, like, do you have an image that is memorable and impactful? So everyone will have their favorite brushes that they work with. Mine happens to be Isabey, and this is the brand. So it takes 7 years to become an apprentice and 7 years for you to make your first brush. So basically everything's hand-picked, all the little fibers, and they never cut the brush. They form the shape as they're putting it together and then making that glue. So whatever shape it is, it's like unique to whoever made this brush.
Right.
In my color palette, I have a cool and warm version of every color and a little bit in between. So basically why that happens is because when we are looking at color in nature, we naturally see the temperature shifts, especially with the light source. So it's important to have the temperature differences. I don't know about other artists, but the white of the page is frightening. And I absolutely do not like it. So I rather put down some tone, and I usually try to get like a neutral or some sort of brown. And especially since my piece is going to be a lot of greens, I'm smuggling the reds already. So that's the opposite color of the green. So I already know this is going to be in shadow generally. And this can be loose, but I'm basically putting down so it's not dealing with the white. I know this will be in shadow as well. You know, I went on and off art school, so art school was unaffordable for me at times. So I had the opportunity to go to many different art schools whenever I could afford it.
Yeah.
But I think that worked to my advantage, to be honest. Like, I think certain art schools have a look to them. And because I went to many different art schools, I had to kind of develop my own tastes and my own style, as well as I get to meet many kinds of artists.
If somebody wanted to get into visual development, where do you think they should start?
I would definitely start at the foundations. So perspective, color theory, storyboarding. When it comes to visual development, get the technical skills up first from the foundation level. And then you want to move into like, how do I tell the story with these foundations?
If you want to build up your foundation skills, head over to Proko.com. You can work on your drawing skills with the basics course or figure fundamentals. You get a bit more advanced with the perspective course or my anatomy course, or learn your digital tools with the digital fundamentals course. Check out our massive catalog at Proko.com/store.
In terms of the paints, it's a French brand called Sennelier. And basically what I like about them is that they mill every pigment the same grain size. So you won't get chunkiness or weirdness. So right now I'm just trying to find a neutral blue, blue-green, because that's gonna be in the background of this area. So yeah, I think I'm going to try to cover the page.
Do you have any tips for storytelling in pieces? I mean, I assume that you studied a bunch of plein air paintings.
Yeah, when you make a piece of art, there's that old advice, it's like tell what you know, tell the stories that you know, because you have that rich inner world already. Whatever you've experienced is so unique to you. So it's trying to draw that out.
Yeah.
I think what tends to happen with a lot of young biz dev artists is like, oh, I want to tell that story, the story that's already been done, that's on on theaters. Like,
Super famous.
Yeah, exactly. And if that's true to their experience, great. But if it's not, I think that defeats your story. Like it waters it down. That confidence takes so long. Like it's something I still struggle with as well. But you have to cultivate it over time and be your own cheerleader.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like acknowledge yourself that you have something important to say, and that's why you became an artist in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm thinking there's going to be roots as well. So there's going to be organic trees growing on top of this structure. I definitely recommend James Gurney's book, which is like really good. It covers in terms of like the temperatures that we talked about. But in terms of exercises, I would say still life is good, as well as plein air, because you're not only trying to paint better, like make your arm do mechanically what your head is thinking, but you're also trying to see better. So when you look at still life, when you look at plein air, you're noticing the colors, you're noticing what that color is doing and interacting with those objects. I think it's important to absorb that more than the technical skills. It's better, it's like you're not painting to paint, you're painting to see better. And I think it becomes painful if you ever see it anything but fun, right? I think there were a time in my own life where painting became more like a job than a fun. I think that's when it becomes painful and your painting stifles because of it. You know, we see a lot of great artists, especially here at the conventions and even online in all these YouTube videos. And you start second guessing yourself. You start saying, oh, I want to do it their way, or their way is better, or something like that.
Yeah.
And when that happens, you stop having that experimental mindset, right? Where it's like, I'm not sure what this is going to be, but I'm going to give it a try.
Visual development seems hard from the perspective of you have to be really good technically, but then you have to find the balance between the idea and the actual execution of the painting, you know?
That's right. And I think it depends on what stage you are in the visual development, right? There is when you're executing and you're in the actual production phase. In that time frame, you need to be a little bit more precise with your work, and like the concept's already worked out. Now it's just actually executing it. But if you're in the blue sky phase and you're still exploring, don't limit yourself. You know, I think this is where you get to have fun and you're like, what is this supposed to be? Where am I going with this? So I've been avoiding the metal part. So that's one of those where if you're not sure what something is, it's okay to leave it open and to try to figure out as you go and let the painting speak to you what it's going to be. But at the same time, you can't avoid it. At some point, you're gonna have to adjust it, right? For me, when I was starting out, I would avoid that space and like develop everything, like render the heck out of the grass and everything. But then it becomes a problem because you're not sure whether that value is gonna be still accurate.
Right.
So it's good to tackle it, and that's what I'm going to do next. So I'm thinking because it's an old metal, you know, it's like some sort of patinaed, browned color, but to offset it, the idea too, I'm trying to think like what's unnatural, what's the man-made thing, and so I'm gonna go for more metallic tech colors, maybe with some paint job on it or something like that. But the idea is, even as you're concepting, you're always going back to that original idea of like, what is this piece even about? It's about this bird discovering something old and things have grown over it, man versus nature. Every decision needs to continue to support that. So part of the mixing too is like whatever color you pick to be your local color, you want to also mix the other colors that are already in it to keep it all cohesive together. So that's why I keep reaching back to the browns, because the browns will be so predominant, but the gray will be reflective of the things around it, which is that brown as well. So
When you're mixing colors, it's more of an intuitive process, right?
you know, it used to be a practice and then it becomes more and more intuitive. So when I was first practicing, it was very more methodical. It's like every time I step into the light, I need to add more of the light source. So I keep adding a little bit more orange, a little bit more brown, a little bit more orange, a little bit more white as you go towards the light source. But now it's because that's been so ingrained over many years, it's like this. That's what it appears like. But inside, it's still thinking about what is that light source, what is reflective, what's over here. Is there like a blue sky that's coming down this way? Now is the time to really think about the lighting, like what's happening, where's the fill lights coming from, and like in this case, since there's such a strong light going to happen here, the fill light Here is like bouncing whatever is in this corner, which is probably the sky dome of some sort. I think that's what's great about heavy body acrylics too, is like it works a little bit like oil. You can make it like watercolor or oil. So with heavy body acrylics, you can get really opaque as well as you can get really thin like this. And then when it comes to green, green is just such a strong pigment. Like when we make paint with green color, it's so unnatural that you always have to add red to it or orange to it to like not make it so bright. And even that, it might still be. And to make any brown, you basically marry the two opposite colors and you can create a brown that way too. So purple and yellow, green and red, blue and orange will make a brown. They're variants of brown. So if you have brown paint, you generally want to add a little bit more color to it or make your own brown.
Do you ever use the traditional tools in your digital process?
Yeah, I do. So there is occasional times in VizDev where you're trying to find and create like a unique look. And sometimes what I would do is experiment with traditional first, like dropping ink or doing marker runs, but with a Yupo, where basically like runs all over the place. I would then scan that. That becomes my brush. And that would create some of the looks that is unique to that particular animation production. Now it's coming to detailing stuff.
Tiny brushes.
Yep, tiny brushes. I used to do WonderCon and CTN and San Diego Comic-Con as well. Now it's just like coming back to it again. The other thing too with concept is like to not be afraid. As it's continuing, there are moments of like panic where you're like, this isn't what I had imagined, right? But I think it's letting it go, like letting the painting be what it needs to be. I think it's what is creativity, is allowing it to flourish. It took me so while to get there, right? And I think before, I was always trying to control everything. It's like, I want to make it this, and then you try to force the painting to conform to whatever it is you're trying to do. But it actually, I think, hurts the piece, because then what you end up with is you can feel like it's forced.
Absolutely.
And then now it's like learning. It's like, okay, there are times to just let it go. When we become too afraid, we won't make our best work. I'm saving those greens for the ends. So I'm having to figure out like how sensitive the background greens are as I'm working through. So it's like trying to figure out, because as you move closer towards the foreground, you want warmer, darker colors, and that's how you'll make it pop. And as you go into the background, you're getting cooler and cooler. That's the other thing too with digital painting, is that a lot of people have so many layers and they're not interacting with each other. Like when my paint scooted over the color of another part of the piece. In digital, you have to do that with the smudge brush, or later when you paint on top of everything, or collapse all the layers together. But often what happens in digital paintings is that they all look separated. Like each item looks like its own separated thing from each other. They don't have a relationship. There's something about it where you allow the paper to speak because it's going to do its own thing. You allow the paint to speak, it'll do its own thing, right? There's something about all of those things in combination is what's going to create your particular piece. So this is a gray palette paper. And essentially, because I don't want it to interact with any other colors, I'm trying to make a clean source of warmth. It's like finding just the right amount of water, the right amount. So small. Yeah, the other thing too that has worked for me is using a bigger brush than what you think. Because when you have a smaller brush, for me, I tend to detail too much, so it keeps it looser. That's one way to get better too, is to give yourself a time. The other thing it will help is that it will show you what you know and what you don't know. It reveals to you what you know and what you don't.
Are there any old masters that you look at?
I think too many to name, so plenty.
Like a top 5?
I respect Oga Kazuo. He's the artist over at Studio Ghibli, that worked under Miyazaki's films. When I was growing up, I looked at his books a lot. I looked to him a lot as an artist. Of course, Perner, the usual, Sargent. I also look to, I feel like there are masters among us now too, and we forget. Even if I walk around here, I'm like, I can learn from that person. I can definitely learn from that person. And I think that's what's great about being an artist is like you never grow old. Like there's so much more to learn in a good way. Because then in life it would be boring if you got it, I think. So I think it's finally getting to a place where it's making sense, right? And I think that's always the challenge. It's the ugly phase where you're like really struggling with it. You're like, I'm not sure what you want to be. And then once it starts to shape up, you're like, okay, now it's like, when do you want me to let you go? It's starting to slowly feel that way, where it's like, okay, you know, a couple marks here and there that needs clarifying. I can tell the piece is telling me you're almost there. Because I think the artist ego wants to keep going, right? The artist ego is just like, no, let me continue. Let me finish this up. But then I feel like that's when you take over and it's no longer allowing it to work for you. Okay, and then I need some dark spots here. Defining what that is. Oh, I see. I think there's one area needs to go darker for it to stand out. And then the darkest darks, the richest dark you can get is through alizarin crimson and the phthalo green of some sort. That is the ultimate like blacker than black that you can get. And it still has color to it too. Not just pure like Mars black or something like that. You'll see the depthness of that black. Usually during this phase is when I'm trying to carve out what's not clear still. And some could use less clarity, like the wires that are too far back. The good thing about Sennelier is that you won't get any inconsistency with the glossy versus matte. In a lot of paints, because of the minerals and the way they're made, some come out more glossier and you'll see parts of your painting like shinier. It does not happen with Sennelier. I'm calculating where the light rays are hitting, and those areas would be more lighter. The other thing to figure out too is once you're at this stage, is like, are you describing the light or are you describing the shadow? And so since our light is very simplified, it's more graphic in nature, we're describing more things in the shadow. So that means all the details are happening here and the light can remain as a graphic element. I think one last area is this empty area is this right here, the circle. So it's like trying to figure out if it's like concave or inner. I think I'm going to add that blue-gray that's maybe darker. So then this is basically just the last touches. I call it like adding the last fill lights, where if something is missing an area, you can have this describe that a bit more. And of course, you want to leave some parts of the painting more free and as is, and that's part of the beauty as well. I don't think that needs to be described too much. Maybe this area. But yeah, that's pretty much, I think I'll call it a wrap here. The next step, if you wanted to make this more into a final painting, I would probably either continue in acrylic or switch over and take a picture of it and go to digital. Do those glow, blow outs and the color dodges and things like that to like really pop and push. But essentially this is how you start, just like defining something from nothing, just an idea. Going back through the steps is like trying to figure out what that shape language is in contrast to, and then what color schemes are you going for, what represents which aspects of the painting. Cool. Well, thank you so much for having me, and thank you. Thanks for watching.
Right.
You can follow me at eveskyler.com. I'm always learning, always having adventures, and this is a great place to be, so thank you so much.
If you want a complete walkthrough on how Eve took her piece from traditional to digital, she has a lesson that takes you through her process on Proko.com/eveskyler. Go check it out.